we know who we're talking to. How many of you are bloggers, trying to make a living as a blogger? How many of you represent brands? Awesome, okay, so that's a great panel to be talking to. So obviously we're here talking about micro-influencers, and I have 4 fantastic voices to discuss this very hot topic. So we're just gonna go down the road and start with you, Caitlyn. Can you give us a little intro about yourself?
I'm Caitlyn Chase. I am the founder of Caviar and Cashmere, which is a blog and a skincare line that I just launched 1 month ago. I started the blog in 2011 and was able to also help other brands with their marketing efforts, and then I went out on my own in January to launch this new brand.
Amazing. Next up, Ashley.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley Fultz. I am the former fashion and lifestyle producer at E! News. I was there for a long time before I went off and started my own brand in 2013. I run the styleeditrix.com, so I'm a fashion and lifestyle blogger. But then the other side of my business is I do a lot of TV style expert work. So I'm on KTLA, usually once a month, Extra TV, and then also Access Hollywood, as well as doing satellite media tours and various other TV and video gigs. So.
Amazing. All right, next up, Danielle Robles.
Hi, my name is Danielle Robles. I'm the head of creators and content at an influencer marketing platform called Octoly. We connect influencers with high-end luxury brands such as Dior, YSL, Clinique, and prior to that I worked at Elle Magazine as a branded content editor for about 3 years. So I'm here to kind of talk about the agency side of this.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Elaine.
Hi, I'm Elaine. My blog website is Fashion Lane, or I am Fashion Lane. I used to work in PR for marketing for 3 or 4 years at PMK BNC. Now I call myself a pop art blogger. I chase rainbows and unicorns on my Instagram. I love colors a lot. And started a challenge on Instagram called Woke Up This Way Challenge in June, if you guys have seen it around. And I have a show called Fashionably Law, which is a podcast and live stream on YouTube.
Very busy. All of these ladies are fantastic, and this is the most amazing advice you're going to get in this category. So for those of you that have seen me moderate before, I've been doing this for about 4 years with this Simply team. I like this to be more of a conversation, so please make sure that you ask a lot of questions, be engaged. This audience has all of the answers to the questions that you've been trying to find the answers to, so please ask questions, get involved, okay? Is that a deal? Deal. Okay. So first and foremost, I think it's important that we define what a micro-influencer is, because everyone has kind of a different perspective, a different number. So I was actually going to have everyone write down a number and then hold it up and like test everyone, but I think I won't do that. I won't put you on the spot too much. But if we could just go down and what is the number in your opinion, or the definition of a micro-influencer?
I think it's really subjective because everyone has a different answer. To me, I would say that anyone between 5,000 and 50,000 would be a micro-influencer. I think everyone probably has a different idea, which is interesting that it's so subjective, but I think that anyone below 50,000 is really having a really targeted audience, and it's super niche, and that's kind of what defines a micro-influencer.
Do we agree on the rest of the panel? Anyone believe it's a different number?
I think it's 100 and below.
That was my
100K.
perspective on the agency side. I think when you deal with bigger brands, that number increases a little bit. It depends on the level, in my experience. And on the PR side, I'm sure it's totally different. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you think it's 50 or under, or is there another number that you think is reflective? Anyone? All right, we're gonna go with between 50 and 100. Is that fair? We all agreed on that one? So why is it that brands have kind of reverted or focused their effort and their dollars on micro-influencers in such a major way? We're seeing it more and more. It used to be kind of the wild, wild west, and now it's a major part of the strategy. Maybe we can start with you, Danielle, since you run a platform that actually does this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that micro-influencers tend to be more niche. They also have really, really engaged communities, and I think that that's kind of what sets them apart from a lot of macro influencers. Their fan base is very engaged. They're the ones that are like actually communicating with them on a daily basis. And I think from a brand level, it's really important to be reaching these people who actually have those fans and followers that are engaging with them on a daily basis.
And as influencers, was there a kind of a point of inflection when you found that brands really woke up and realized that it was so important to be engaging with individuals like you? Or or is that yet to come?
I feel like brands have always, it depends on the brand. The bigger the brand, probably the more likely they are to work with micro-influencers because their budget is allocated towards brand awareness and ROI, whereas maybe a smaller label is looking just for ROI. They just need to drive sales, grow their business, whatever they're doing. But yeah, I think that the key here is what I've heard from a lot of people, work with influencers who are starting a conversation and who are actually having influence over the people that follow them. So you could have 1 million followers, but are those people looking to her for aspiration? She's traveling to Capri constantly. She's wearing Dior and YSL. These are not attainable things, whereas the average customer might look to a micro-influencer and be like, okay, she's shopping at Target, she has a child in preschool, she wears the kind of concealer I want to wear. So it's much more of a relatable, attainable type of thing and a conversation that they're having. And I know for people like me, and I think a lot of the girls up here too, respond to every comment and are actually engaging with their audience. And I go and like my followers' stuff and comment on their stuff and try to know them and create a community. And that's a little bit of a different thing than just having 1 million followers.
Absolutely. Any comments on that?
Just to kind of add on to that, I remember I've been doing my Instagram blogging for 5 to 6 years, and I remember there was a shift of do we work with celebrities like a Kim Kardashian who has trillions of followers, or an influencer, which even at that point it wasn't as many as there are now. And at that point there was even that shift of wanting to work with people who are bloggers or influencers because of the community. You feel like you're more connected to an Ashley or Caitlyn versus maybe Kim Kardashian that we all love, but you feel maybe like they're your friends and you're connected to them. So brands kind of see the value in that because you're buying something that your friend is saying versus like Kim Kardashian who can post anything.
And so I think based on this conversation, we can all agree that you on the panel believe that micro-influencers are more efficient or more authentic than macro-influencers. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
So as influencers, do you guys work with publicists directly? Do you guys work on platforms? There's a lot of new platforms that are coming out that aggregate thousands and thousands of micro-influencers. How do you guys work on the influencer side specifically?
I basically field inbound requests, so I like to pick and choose who I work with. I've always had such a specific niche, and that's been luxury lifestyle for me, so I've never wanted to stray away from that. So it's just basically fielding those requests. I like to do it in-house. I did work with an agency and I was represented.
You love it, obviously, since you're not doing it anymore.
I just think that, I like to be authentic, and I like to only promote and speak about brands and products that I would only personally use myself or I would pay for myself. So for me to have a representative out there and pitching me to brands that maybe I wouldn't use, that's not very organic or authentic to me. So I like to keep it in-house, and I like to just basically field the requests and pick and choose who I want to work with depending on what interests me. And then if I really, really love a brand, I'll reach out to them.
It's so interesting. So I think that this sort of world that we're in is also new and great because you don't have to have the crazy mass following. It's mostly about relationships, in my opinion. I started working with brands literally 2 months after I launched my blog because I left E with all of these amazing contacts in the fashion and beauty industry. And they just wanted to work with me because they liked me or they liked my style or they liked whatever. So I tend to work with people directly one-on-one. I don't have an agent for that reason. I love having that relationship with the brand, and if I really love the product and having that ongoing conversation and hopefully long-term campaigns that I'm working on. But then I also do work through third-party companies like Collectively or not Style Hall, but Style Coalition and different things like that. They'll bring me deals and they'll say, Neutrogena has a campaign right now. Would you want to be a part of this? So I feel like there's definitely multiple ways and channels to work with people, and then there's also just those online places where you can like tap influence, and Up a Baby will be casting 10 mothers for their campaign coming up, and you can tap into those and say, I want to sign up for this, here's my rate for this, and actually not even talk to a human being at all. So it's at all ends of the spectrum. I feel like we're working with brands these days.
That's interesting. So you touched on a topic which is rate card, and that's certainly one of the conversations I know the audience is really interested in. How do you earn money, and what are your rates look like? We could be so transparent with the audience. I think people are really interested because a lot of them are kind of starting out, trying to get recognition and traction, or they're on the brand side and they want to know what does it look like to actually work with an influencer. And I understand there's a range. So
I'll go.
Silence.
Okay, so it was the rate, and then also what was the first part of it? Sorry.
Well, how you make money as a
Okay,
blogger.
so I think there's so many avenues to make money as a blogger. As a micro-influencer, you're obviously doing sponsored blog posts and sponsored Instagram campaigns. I feel like Instagram has taken over my life. It's like no one really wants to sponsor blog posts anymore unless they're doing long-term things to where they want the link back and they're working on SEO and they're working on bigger brand awareness things. It's all about the here and the now on Instagram. So that's a big money maker for me. It's also affiliate sales, which of course, if you're a micro-influencer, you're not making crazy affiliate sales. So whenever brands come to me and say, hey, would you want to shoot this campaign in exchange for 10% off the sales? I'm like, probably not going to take that deal because I don't have 1 million followers. I'm not going to get 1 million click-throughs on this product. I want to do a flat fee up front and work with you that way, and I create this beautiful content and this story and this whole campaign behind it, and then you just support me that way monetarily. And yeah, it's so interesting too because I think that it varies so much in rates. It's the Wild West. Everyone charges whatever they feel like charging. I feel like it's a little bit different if you have an agency behind you because they have sort of a formatted rate for everything. But when I first started out, I remember signing with a really big fashion brand for the year. And so I did 1 post a month for the year, and I think I charged $500 a blog post. So that actually, it seems like a lot when I just started out and I had only a few thousand followers. But then my husband was like, think about what they would pay to shoot all this in-house. They're gonna pay the model, they're gonna pay the photographer, they're gonna pay the location fee, the hair and makeup, every person is down to one person, and that was me doing everything. And I was like, this makes so much sense. And even if I don't have 1 million followers, it's all about brand awareness. So they're saving money in the long term anyway. So I don't know, it's really interesting to see the different ways people work. But then I'll have people contact me all day long, can you post on Instagram for $50? And I would never do that. But I would say like the range for someone like a micro-influencer might be $500 to $1,000 for an Instagram. Blog post, depending on your following and everything like that, if brands even ask for that anymore. It's probably more in the range to like $500 to $2,000. It really just depends on the brand, and sometimes I cut brand deals too. If they want to sponsor Insta stories, and if they want to do more posts, then I'll do it for cheaper.
So, is that a surprising number for you guys, or does that seem like what's on trend, and does that make sense? Make sense? You guys with us? Yeah, it's exciting, it's interesting. So I think maybe we can talk about successful campaigns, because that's really what people want to hear about. How did you lock down your campaign? What did the relationship look like? What does success mean for you and for the brand that you ended up working with?
So for me, I like to do a lot of, so when you're asking like how do you get brand deals, so I work with third-party companies that come to me with ideas, but then I'm also so crazy that I have all these crazy ideas of things I want to do for my specific blog that I go out and pitch brands. So like for example, in February of last year, I wanted to do something for Valentine's Day, but I didn't want to be like basic and like this is me in my Valentine's Day outfits because I'm a blogger. So I wanted to work with a candy brand and make their candy pieces into my fashion outfit. So I ended up getting Sweet Tarts to do it with me. So I pitched like all these candy brands, but I really wanted them because it went with my brand and my vibe. And so I did 4 different posts, and it was blog posts and Instagrams, and it was like each of their candies was inspired by the look that I create. So my hair and my makeup and my outfits were all that. And so, but that's something that I pitched, and it was super creative, and so from there that they wanted to do that with me. And a similar thing is Buy. So that one I pitched to them, and Buy the fruit drink, they were through a third-party company that reached out to me, and this was a campaign they were doing with 20 other bloggers, let's say, and I was one of them they wanted to do it with. And they're like, so we want you to hold the drink in 3 different posts throughout this month. And I'm like, I'm down to do something with you guys, but that's just not how I work because I'm crazy and I want to do weird things. So I'll do it, but what I ended up doing instead was each of the drinks was inspired by the look that I did also. So I did like a watermelon like shoe, and then I was like a Chiquita banana but with pomegranates on my head for the pomegranate look. So if you go through the hashtag, everyone else has these like cute, pretty photos by the beach with Buy, and I'm like the only one with stuff on my head. But they loved it, and I loved it, and so I guess that's how I personally work with brands.
Love that. How much of your brand relationships are you pitching or inbound? I know you send a lot of inbound. Would you guys say 50%, 20, 80? How much of you are outbound versus inbound?
I would say mine's 80% inbound, 20% outbound. If I really, really love a brand, I'll reach out and I'll tell them why I love them, why I love their product or their service, and why I want to work with them and how I foresee myself working with them with a long-term relationship. Brands that I like to work with are more long-term, so I don't do one-off posts. I like to have consistency, and I like to, again, bring it back to authenticity and let my audience know that I'm actually wearing their dresses, or I'm actually visiting all of their hotels that they have all over the world, and I'm very loyal to that brand. So for me, if I stumble upon, let's say I love Shopbop, so I now really exclusively only wear Shopbop, and that is a great way to have consistency, but also really have a good relationship with the brand, and people know what to expect. They know that if I'm wearing a dress, it's most likely from Shopbop.
Love that. So for the brands out there, which it seemed like a lot of you guys were, the theme I keep hearing is consistency in the relationship. The relationship is so important, whether it's an inbound or whether you're pitching some crazy concept, because that's your creative vision. Any other campaigns, maybe on the platform side, how does that work, and what have you seen be successful in aggregating micro-influencers?
So I've seen, like, definitely for micro-influencers, I think because a lot of them are just starting out and maybe they don't have the numbers or the followers to have like a Dior or YSL approach them, what I've seen a lot of success with micro-influencers doing is just kind of, as we're saying, like either pitching a concept or just going out there and getting the product and creating really beautiful shots around it. And I think, you know, a lot of brands now, they have like an entire social arm, and so these brands, like these social media directors, these influencer marketing managers, they're culling through all of this content. They're constantly actually looking at the content that you're creating, and I think that that's kind of a way to just kind of insert yourself in the conversation and really kind of make yourself known and to kind of gain that visibility that otherwise you maybe, if you're waiting for them to come to you, might not necessarily happen on its own.
I agree with that. We're on the agency side, and so we are building relationships on both direct with influencers, and then we also work with publicists who go out and aggregate influencers for us on a larger scale. And I'll tell you, the campaigns that are the most successful are the ones where we've built that relationship and it's more long term. So I think that, again, is a really consistent theme throughout the conversation. Let's talk about one tip that you would give to a brand that is trying to approach you for a partnership. One tip, or one like really big no-no, like something that's happened that you were like, hell no.
Addressing the email to the wrong name.
I had one.
Dear
that
Amanda.
was dear name. That was a good one.
I've had Dear XXX, like it was copy and paste, and they were just supposed to fill out the blog name and the name. And
Yeah. So that's a big no-no.
I think one of the biggest no-nos is you're coming to the influencer for the creative vision, so don't bog them down with so much restriction and messaging that you're like, stand here in front of a green wall and make sure the messaging says are 5 sentences that are exactly like this, and everybody else is going to say the same thing. It looks so inauthentic, and just go buy an ad on Google if you want to do that. Like, you know what I mean? You're tapping into our audiences and our creativity and our vision for a reason, because you must really like our brand and trust us to create that beautiful content for you. And just, don't overdo it with the approvals and the everything else, trying to micromanage everything. It just doesn't work or sell.
It's hard often for those big brands because they have directive from all of the executives above them to deliver X, Y, and Z in terms of ROI, and they feel like they need to be in so much control. But you're 100% right. It sounds like, Elaine, you would not work in that scenario.
Well, I'm like, you don't tell me what to do, let me tell you what to do. But then they love it, so it works.
Yeah.
But also just make sure that you're going for the right person. Like one time, like Flat Tummy Tea asked me to do something, and I'm like, unless I need to like lose some weight, I don't know if I would be the right person to promote that to people. So just have your right audience of who you want as your spokesperson.
I think personalization too. So when I'm getting any inbound requests, and the brand that wants to work with me is really taking the time to really understand my content and what I like, and so you don't feel like they're casting the net so wide and you're just one of 1,000 emails that they send out, that they really genuinely want to work with you, and that makes you more keen to respond because they know my work, they know my content, they appreciate it, they see my value, and they know that I'll do them well.
And just to add to something that you said earlier, I I feel like in this day and age, when brands over complicate things in terms of like exact asks, like at this point we can all smell that like a million miles away. And I think especially if you're working with micro influencers, you're working with micro influencers because you want the engagement, you want the authenticity, and you definitely lose that when you're like asking an influencer to copy and paste like a very structured sentence verbatim. I mean, the followers, again, they follow the influencer, they engage with them daily, so they know what's their voice and what's not. And I personally think it almost does the brand a disservice when they kind of guideline too much.
They do creative briefs on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, some are very, very specific, and we usually tell brands to kind of stray away from that. Like obviously suggestions, bullet points are great. I think it's good to give influencers some guidance in terms of like, you know, like here are some brainstorming ideas or just a couple of copy points for you to kind of include. But when you start like giving them exact verbiage is where I feel like it kind of like strays away from the authenticity.
And then they turn around and they're like, well, why didn't this campaign work? And it's like, because you strangled me and my creativity. We see that a lot, and we have to fight on behalf of the creatives that we work with.
I was going to add one more thing to that too. I feel like you're right. There definitely is a time and a place for guidelines, and for the client to be happy. So make sure up front when you're coming to the creative or the influencer, whatever it is, that you tell them, you know, we need a 48-hour turnaround approval process to make sure the brand is tagged properly, the hashtag is in there, these small specific things, just to make sure everybody's on board. But yeah, don't suffocate them with the messaging and everything else, or the creative concept, but just give them some sort of guideline that we can all live with, and tell the influencer that up front. I don't want to hear 2 weeks after I turn in the content, wait, that's not approved, and like you have to take it down now, and you know, have everything set up front so that we all know what to expect and what to turn in and everything else.
I love you. That makes me so happy. As an agency, when creatives have specific processes, and this would be a tip I think would be a great takeaway for you guys, know what your rates are, know what your process is, and stay true to that, because if you waver, then they come in and take control, and that's when these kinds of campaigns go really sour. And we've seen a lot of big brands spend a lot of money and fall short in their KPIs because they tried to control the process, and the influencer wasn't strong enough to say, no, this is who I am, this is why you hired me, let me do my job. All right, so people were interested in other ways and tips to sell through affiliate networks, Poshmark, different platforms. Do you guys work on multiple platforms? Is it all through your own channels? Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you actually have a brand as well, so that's an interesting dichotomy. You have different platforms that you sell on for the brands that you work with.
No, I kind of have a different stance on that. I don't sell any of the clothes or products that have been gifted to me. I'll donate them, but I will never sell them, because I just think that they're gifted to you for a reason. And if I shoot it and I no longer foresee myself wearing it again, then I would much rather donate it and give it to someone that needs it than go and try to make a buck from something that's been gifted to me. And as now having a brand, if I saw someone that I gifted a product to, which is you know, means a lot to me, and then I go and see them sell it on eBay or Poshmark, I think that would hurt my feelings. So I would much rather give it to someone that deserves it than try to sell it and make money that way.
I like that approach. We gift a lot to our internal teams as well, because we've got an agency and they love getting a little bit of swag. Does anyone actually do that on the panel? Do you guys sell any of the products?
I do. I sell on Poshmark. I don't really sell anywhere else, but I you know, through affiliate links I make money, Poshmark I make money. I make money through various different things, so besides just selling, because I don't have my own brand or anything like that. So I do satellite media tours where I make money, and then I make money through brands on TV gigs. So my income comes in varied states, but yeah.
So you have multiple revenue streams.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just the blog or affiliate links or sponsored posts. Yeah, I have multiple different ways. I feel like you have to be a hustler when you're a blogger. I mean, you can't just do one thing. She has her own brand, I have my TV stuff, Elaine has her charity component. Like you just all have to like hustle it up.
In fact, I think Sarah was quoted on that on the Simply page today on their Instagram. You can't teach hustle, and I totally think that's the #1 tool you need to have as a blogger is mad hustle. Elaine, what about you? Are you on different
I was
platforms?
gonna say kind of along the same lines. I sell some stuff on Poshmark, but the things that I get, I feel like are my children. So like the clothes I ask for, people send me, it's like things I actually wear. The makeup I get, maybe I'll give it to my friends, and they're like, "You're so nice because you have extra lip gloss to give us." But a a lot of like the money that I do is through campaigns and maybe some selling of things, but mainly working with brands on stuff like that. Yeah.
So let's talk about where we think the industry is going. It's still a little wild, wild west. We discussed that already. Is it going to solidify? Is it going to continue down this path because there's just so many people getting into the game? Where do you see where this is going?
I'm very passionate about this because this is like, people are like, what is your 5-year plan? Like every day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's what you have to think about, because when we started, I know Ashley since like the beginning of my blogging times, and like we were like kind of like some of the first people, and I remember I'd be like, I'm a blogger to people, they're like, what's that? And I'm like, I'm a blogger, they're like, oh, you're one of those. So it's like there's so many of us now, and I feel like it's oversaturated and I'm overwhelmed, and like even the way I go about, like I used to post 3 Instagram photos a day, then it became 2, now I'm like, I'm happy with 1 because of the algorithm and everything, and it's everything. I just feel very oversaturated. So 5 years from now, it's not going to be what it is now. You need to have a line. You need to be like who you are, and I think the power of micro influencers now is like you establishing like who you are as a person, as a brand, and really going from there, because I'm always like, what if Instagram dies one day? We all rely on that a lot. So if that dies, then like everyone's job dies kind of, in this world. So it's like, what have you left behind that you can go from? Like Caitlyn has a line, she has that, she's good, So who are you and what are you gonna do that makes you different? Because even now, it's like, I'm sure when you're working with brands, like how do you decide which influencer to work with? There's 1,000, so you have to be different.
I've definitely seen a shift, especially on the brand side, with using influencers just for content, moving more towards like having influencers with very engaged audiences, like as you do, like create product. A lot of brands are using influencers to collaborate and create their, like come to the studio. There's a jewelry brand that we're working with that is asking some of our influencers to create more mood boards and then come to the studio and actually create the product. And then the influencer has their own page with their own affiliate links, and they're kind of like leveraging the audience and the engagement that way, which I think is really interesting. Also, through experiential and events and stuff like that. I mean, I definitely feel like there's going to be a shift, like obviously Instagram's very influential, but maybe like off of the social media sites a little bit.
I totally agree with that. So we do full digital and experiential, and a lot of the big brands are reverting back to experiential because they're realizing that they haven't talked to their audience, they haven't touched their market in real life in forever. And actually, if you do experiential in a really smart way, you can get great content from that that then lives online as well. So I think brands went really far to the left of digital, and now I agree they're coming back to experiential. But the influencer conversation is heavily embedded in that conversation as well. I totally agree.
I think it's interesting. There's definitely a place. Everyone's like, the influencer is going away tomorrow. I think that's honestly just not true. It's just not going to happen because they make brands too much money, and we're making money. So it's like there is definitely an industry and a time and a place for it. How it evolves is going to be interesting to see. Instagram is just, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be around for that much longer for so many reasons. But mainly what I'm hearing from people, engagement is down, and I think that's twofold. Instagram's doing it, but it's also less people are going to Instagram and engaging because everybody wants to be an influencer. I was looking the other day trying to just go through and find normal people. Everybody's taking outfit photos. Everybody wants to be a blogger. Everybody wants to do it. So it's like, it's so saturated. Maybe only the bloggers are on Instagram now. Maybe that's what it's going to turn out to be, It's not real people anymore. So I think it's going to, like, people like us need to focus on things that we own, like a brand or your blog and platforms that you can control and not that can just go away tomorrow. And seeking, maybe one day I'll work in-house for a brand or be a consultant and do more of their creative side of things because that's what I love doing, creating content. So it's kind of evolving with the industry and seeing where it's all going to go.
I think that's exactly right. And I also think it's really interesting that so many of these micro influencers are creating brands. So you're evolving, and I think that might be a step of what's happening in the future. Caitlyn, you've actually done that pretty successfully. Can you speak to what that transition was like, or was it just a moment where you were like, I want to create something that's scalable? What was that conversation like?
I always knew in the back of my head that I wanted to do something beyond the blog. I started the blog in 2011 with the scope of one day I'm going to have actual product, but I want to learn and take time to know what people want and listen to my audience, and I was able to create the skincare line, which I'm passionate about. I've written about skincare for so many years for beauty, and I was listening to what the people wanted. So I would engage with them, I would ask them questions, I would read the comments on the blog, and that's how I was able to establish the idea and the premise of the brand, was being able to actually listen to the real-time feedback and see what they wanted. So I think that that's really important, is bloggers who are interested in creating their own product is knowing the audience, and I kind of did it the opposite way, is creating products that people were asking for instead of creating products that people want.
It's kind of smarter, asking your audience what they want and then delivering that brand promise, right?
Yeah, when I decided that I wanted to do skincare, I had a general idea of what type of products I wanted to do and what the ethos of the mission of the brand was going to be, but then I really took it to the audience and I asked them, what ingredients do you want? What ingredients don't you want? What kind of products do you use on your face? What don't you use on your face? And I really kind of use them as market research, focus groups, and I got real live feedback from people. And so when I came out with the line just a month ago, it was the tangible products that they actually asked for. So I felt like I was formulating and developing it for them, not for myself.
Such a smart technique. I love that. As a marketer, it makes me so happy that you did the research, the homework, you asked what they wanted, and then you gave it to them. It's so funny. Like, you don't think that these huge brands don't do that, and they actually really don't, which is why influencers are also so important, because you really listen, you have an engaged audience, and you can really and will ask those questions. Let's talk about what's happening next with all of your amazing blogs and platforms, and what is hot on your mind right now?
Well, for me, I have a few things. I have a podcast and live show called Fashionably Law that I do. I'm focusing a lot on. I do it with a partner. And then I started the Woke Up This Way challenge, I mentioned before, if you guys saw, bringing realness back to social media. So the whole thing about, is it just bloggers on Instagram? And so from there, I'm going to do a high school tour. I'm working on that for October. I want to go to 5 cities and really talking to girls about embracing who they are away from social media, and just, I think there's just a lot of, like, we need to build, like, inspiration in people. So that's the next step of what I'm doing with that, because I really want to motivate, inspire people, and use my platform to kind of do that.
And then also add how they can find you.
How they can find me? On Instagram, it's the easiest. It's I am Fashion Lane, Laine, like Elaine.
So at Octoly, we are very committed to helping micro-influencers kind of grow their following and kind of educate them on, like, the ground level, to kind of grow them from little baby micro-influencers to huge social media stars. So right now we're doing what we call, like, an Octoly tour. We're going to different cities to kind of have mini conferences, not so unlike this one, and working with different brand sponsors to bring really great speakers. Our next city that we're going to be in is Chicago in September, and then we'll be hitting up Miami, Houston, Texas, and Los Angeles. The idea is really to kind of interact with those influencer communities that are outside of LA and New York, because that's kind of the 2 hubs where most people focus on. And we're also working with a lot of brands to really figure out different ways to leverage influencers' following and engagement to bring them into stores and actually drive sales. I think that's, like, a huge part of the puzzle when it comes to influencer marketing. So again, with, like, experiences, whether it's, like, creating product with different brands, collaborations, stuff like that. So it's really kind of take the next level of what influencer marketing looks like.
Influencer elevation. I like it. And how can people get in touch with you?
People can get in touch with me at Octoly, or you can follow me on Instagram at Danielle Robles. It's DanielleRobles.
What's coming up next for me? I just have a lot of collaborations that I'm working on right now, but I'm also doing some more TV stuff. I'm doing a satellite media tour with Society 6, which is a home decor brand, next Wednesday, which is really exciting. I'll do live TV literally for 5 hours straight, satellited all over the country, which is crazy. And then I have Macy's fashion show that I'm hosting in September 16th, which is going to be really fun. It's a live fashion show, and they invite all their biggest, I guess, customers in to watch the show and talk about fall trends. And yeah, I just have some sponsored campaigns and posts and things like that coming up. I just pitched Access and Extra, so I'm focusing all on my fall fashion content. What are the trends coming up? Talking about denim, shoes, just everything that people are looking for and shopping for right now. I try to offer tips and tricks for that. And you can follow me on Instagram, The Style Editrix, or you can also go to thestyleeditrix.com and say hi and say you're here today.
Next and new for you. I mean, you just launched this product line, so that's pretty new.
Yeah, that's new. So I'm just juggling between still growing the blog and then growing this new brand. I'm launching my first retailer in 2 weeks. So I'm going to be at all 7 Washington stores, which is really important for me because going back to the experience and really having a touch point with the audience. Washington is kind of like Dry Bar, but for makeup application, and they'll be incorporating my skincare into the makeup applications. So there's going to be an educational component, which is really important for me, and be able to have all of their makeup artists tell the brand story. So that's what's next. Just going to be working on getting more retailers and growing the blog as well. I have some fun campaigns coming up, and that's not something that I foresee ever giving up because it's a passion of mine, and I always will have the blog even if the brand grows along with it. It would just be a great as the brand grows. Yeah.
That's an exciting partnership.
Yeah. It's an exclusive partnership for now, so that's where people will be able to buy the product in store, or you can buy it on the website, which is shopcaviarandcashmere.com. And then the brand's Instagram is at Caviar and Cashmere, and my personal Instagram is Caitlyn Chase.
So I'm going to flip the script a little bit, and I'm going to ask you guys, what is the most important question that a brand could ask you to make you want to work with them? No, it wasn't on the list, guys. I'm totally putting them on the spot.
I think they should find out if you've ever used the product, if you want to try it first, if they can give you some leeway. A lot of times it's like, hey, I'm going to send you this water and can you shoot it and post it by next week? It's like, give us some time to try it, see if we really like it, see if we're already fans of it. I feel like that's the most natural collaboration. Or like you were saying, use some sort of stats behind it and see if I've already been tagging your makeup every day and I'm already a fan. So it's just a seamless collaboration and it seems really authentic. And don't just pay attention to the numbers because we all know things about numbers. It's not a good look. Look more about the engagement, look more about their community, if they're with real people who are actually drinking their Kool-Aid. So, yeah.
I just think it's like when I work with brands, it's a number based kind of both ways. How many followers you have and what your rate is, right? And it's like if you give a rate and a brand wanted to work with you and like you're not down anymore, it's like I'm like very open. If it's someone that I want to work with, I'll work with you. And it's just having that kind of dialogue of like you feeling like the brand actually wants to work with you and you're not just another person and you really wanting to work with them. And I've had both like really great campaigns with people that it's like you work things out and like you just want to feel wanted both ways, kind of. So just like really get to know the person you're talking to. And sometimes when brands reach out to me, it's like I know they're specifically talking to me because of the rainbow color vibes that I have, and it's like that campaign and like they have the overview depth of what they're trying to pitch. And like they thought about it. They thought about reaching out to me, and so you want to work with them. So you just want to feel wanted, I guess.
It's been a flag that we have used all our time so efficiently. The answers have been so fantastic. I want to make sure the audience has a chance to ask their own questions. So we're going to open the floor. I know you have burning questions. Don't be shy. This is the best and the cheapest advice you are ever going to get. So please ask questions. Who is the brave first? Yes.
My question is from the influencer side. Well, do you have any tips for how to start building a relationship with a brand and making sure you're not just doing one-offs all the time, which has kind of been like the case for me so far?
I would start with being an actual user of the product and engaging with them on social. So posting about them if you really do love their product, posting about them organically and getting their attention that way. And then you can reach out to them and say, I've been using your product for X amount of months. I absolutely love it. This is why, and this is how I want to work with you.
I would say DMing too. Like, it seems weird to think that like someone from the brand's actually reading all the Instagram DMs, but they really are. And a lot of people from brands tell me like when an influencer reaches out to them, they see that like they're being genuine and they actually do like the product. It's something that definitely piques their interest, and if they're interested in what you're like doing, then they'll definitely reach back out. Another influencer also told me once though that reaching out to like even like the contact at whatever the website is, she always like will send emails even though like no one would ever think that people would actually answer that. But again, there's people that's their job to do that every single day. So definitely don't be afraid to just put it out there and reach out.
Yeah. Right here.
I'd like to know, is there a number associated with being a quote micro-influencer?
Were you here for the first 2
No, I
minutes of this
wasn't.
conversation?
I was not. That's why I'm
I'm
asking.
just kidding. We decided collectively that the number is between 50 to 100,000. That's kind of the range, depending on the scale of the influencer.
Okay, thank you.
And the engagement, of course. Yeah. Yes. Right behind you. You can pass the mic back. Thank you.
Hello. So my question is from the brand and agency side. It's Instagram, TV, integration with brands and thoughts on that and how that should be different from stories and just any tips, advice, and how we should be using it.
Well, as an agency that works with big brands, they're still terrified of it. It's too new. They don't have any metrics of real success out of brands that we've worked with, which are mostly big global brands. So I think that they're not quite ready, but that also means they might be tardy to the party. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think that it's something you should shy away from pitching, but when we have brands are like, ooh, I think we just need to see our conference. You know, so that's the unfortunate truth, and most bigger brands are going to be a little behind the times on that.
And in terms of working with influencers on IGTV, I think if you're a brand and you're trying to pitch that, it's really a great idea. It's like, why not? It's just one other avenue. And for me, video, I mean, I may be biased because it's my background and that's what I love doing, video and TV stuff, but I feel like it's a much more authentic way to engage. You can make a beautiful picture all day long, and as we've seen, people hide behind these photos that are heavily curated and not real and just whatever it is. But if you're actually promoting a brand in a video, people can see right through it if you're not being authentic and real and really loving the product and having cool things to say besides this water is great. I mean, like you have to have like a real personality to do it. So I find that if you find the right influencers who actually do have personalities and are already doing Insta stories or IGTV, reach out to them and see if they want to incorporate and come up with some sort of random fee to plug the product in an IGTV. Or if it's beauty, that's obviously easier to do a tutorial, or if it's food or some sort of household product, take you through their living room, do a living room tour and talk about the pillows or the food or, you know, a recipe that you're doing. I don't know, there's a lot of different ways to incorporate it.
I like that too. That's an added value.
To add on to that, I've been noticing for the campaigns that I get asked to do, it's like IG stories right now is part of the ask. Like that was never before. And even so, I just feel like I had this conversation with someone yesterday, like soon the Instagram feed is just gonna be like a little pretty thing you have, but your Instagram stories is where it's really at. Because even for me, like I know today, people will be like, oh my god, I saw you at Simply and like saw all the videos you posted and stuff, because people interact more with what you're doing in the moment. And I think maybe us who love videos as much, like people feel connected to you more that way than a photo that I spend 1,000 hours creating and I love it, but it's different.
Yeah, I think the way that Instagram's set up right now, like as you said, IGTV is still a bit early, but stories is definitely kind of where everyone's looking. So it's just like the way that the feed's even set up. When you log on to Instagram, you see everyone's stories first before you actually even see the feed. I have plenty of friends who don't even look at the feed anymore. But I think Instagram stories is still interesting to test. As far as I've seen, I haven't really seen like huge engagement numbers to prove it's like worth of sticking around. But I definitely think it's an interesting space to experiment with.
So a little mixed message on that one, but I mean it's so new. Yeah. And we have time for like 2 more questions right in the back. Yes.
Yeah, I just, on that note, just wondering what kind of engagement you guys have been seeing on IGTV compared to your stories or other content.
I haven't done IGTV, but I know I don't go live a lot because I don't see a lot of engagement. It's like you have to really promote that time space if you're gonna do it, and like promote it everywhere, and like make it's hard for me too because I feel like my followers are on both sides of the country, so it's like, do I pick 7 p.m. here or there? And really just sticking to something, and if it's every Tuesday and you're going live, then let everybody know that 7 p.m. Tuesdays. It's like otherwise I'll see like 20 people tuning in and it's really disheartening. And you're like, I'm talking to myself on live TV. What am I doing here? I don't know. It's weird.
I haven't done it yet, and I'm just, anytime there's something new, it takes me a while to accept that I need to get to doing it. So it's like overwhelming. So I haven't done it, but I'll probably get to it soon.